Good afternoon. Can everybody hear me in the back? Today I come full circle today. I have to give you 3 definitions before I speak, just so you know what I'm talking about. When I talk about mentors, I talk about mothers and daughters and sisters, because that's what we are, right? When I talk about the unknown, I talk about things that are unpredictable that you can't explain. And finally, when I talk about airplanes, I talk about assignments and tasks. So my name's Gina, for those of you who didn't know me. I'm from Philadelphia. I'm 38 years old. And I did not wake up one morning and say, hey, I wanted to be in corrections. I don't think many of us do that. What I wanted to do, I wanted to be Jodie Foster in Silence of the Lambs. So I went to Penn State University and I took administration of justice, and there was a professor there, and she said to me, I have a perfect opportunity for you. I said, what's that? She said, how would you like to go to Harrisburg for a paid internship, which was unheard of, with the Pennsylvania State Police? I said, absolutely. She said, in their behavioral science unit, everybody watch Criminal Minds? I had the opportunity in 2001 in that summer to go and do an internship there. And I loved it. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to be a state trooper. And I had my mind set on it. I said, Mom, I'm going to be a state trooper. And she said to me, well, Gina, you better have a backup plan, just in case. And I said, okay, all right. I'll apply for the Secret Service. I'll apply for the Delaware State Police. And you know what? I'll throw my ring in the hat for the Department of Corrections. So I applied for to be a state trooper, and I did everything. I did the online application. I passed the lie detector test, the drug test, everything I passed. The last thing I had to do was a physical ability test, and it was February 2nd of 2002. And I don't mean to say this, but I called out my first day of corrections to take the physical ability test to become a state trooper. That's a true story. And I went up to Fort Indiantown Gap, and it was a blizzard. And I thought to myself, well, they're going to make us do the test inside, because they can't make us possibly do it out in the snow and the ice, right? Partly right. The push-ups, the sit-ups, the deadlift, everything that you had to do was indoors. And I was like, yes, I got this. And I passed everything. The last part was the 1.5 mile run. And I'm looking around and I'm thinking to myself, where are we going to do this 1.5 mile run at? And then I started to see everybody line up. And when they lined up, I went, oh, no. So we go outside and we start running on the track. And the one side of the track, it was cool because the snow and the ice and the wind, it pushed you. And I was getting pushed. But guess what happened when I went to the other side of the track? It was like running into that great big wall that's outside. So when I crossed the finish line, I looked up and I was exhausted. And the state trooper was there and she clicked the stopwatch and she said to me, 4 seconds. And I looked and I went, woo, thank God, 4 seconds. See that? I knew I could do that. And she said, no, sweetheart. You missed it by 4 seconds. When can I take it over? Take what over? The run. Oh, no. You got to go home, go online, and apply all over again. Guess where I was day 2? Right here. The next day I was here. Let me tell you something. Thank God for 4 seconds, because I fell in love with being a corrections officer. I fell in love with being a corrections officer. First time. So as a corrections officer, I did my year of training, and a sergeant called me when I was done, and he said, Clark, what are you doing? I said, nothing, sir. He said, you want to go to RHU school or a security level 5 school? I said, absolutely, sure. And I did. And I spent 2 years in the RHU here as a female, with everybody looking. And they said, why do you want her on your team? And he said, because I see something in her. He's a major with me today. He was my sergeant then. So I spent a couple years in the RHU, and then the shift commander at the time, he said, Clark, you've been in the RHU too long. He said, you're coming out. I'm going to bring you into control. And I loved being in the control because I learned how to do institutional count. I learned how to run a jail. He took me on the roof at Graterford and showed me things. This is what happens if this, and this is what happens if that. And I loved it. But I wasn't really fulfilled. So I thought, you know what? Let me use my degree from Penn State, and maybe I'll become a corrections counselor. And I did. Second time I fell in love. Second time. I loved being a counselor. I was the pre-release guru. The union hated me because I just wanted more people on my caseload. I loved it. I loved being a counselor. I loved seeing people's faces when they made parole. I loved talking to people's families. I loved it. And it was at that time I met my mentor. And she had come in, and we were on Delta Block. We were on D Block that you were on last night. And I was a counselor. I never met her before. And she came in and she sat down and she said, hey. I said, hey, how are you? She said, I hear you're the best counselor in Graterford. And I went, yes, I am. I am the best counselor. And she said, well, I really don't know much about treatment. She said, I used to be here. I worked in security. Will you teach me how to be a unit manager? I said, sure, absolutely. And from that day on, we had that mentor-mentee relationship. We had that mom-daughter kind of thing going. And we helped each other out, and it was great. She went on to another institution. I stayed here. And it just so happened that she came back. And when she came back, she said to me, you know, you're ready to be a unit manager. And I said, no, I'm not. She said, yes, you are. You're ready to be a unit manager. I said, all right. So I became a unit manager. Guess what? It was the third time I fell in love again. I love being a unit manager. I was in charge of reentry. The Juvenile Lifer Initiative just started. I loved it. It was awesome. Then she became superintendent. When she became superintendent, she came to me and she said, guess what? I said, oh, what? She said, you're ready to be a major. I said, no, I'm not. I'm too young. I'm 36 years old. I can't do that. Yes, you can. You're going to be my major. You want to know why? Because you have the biggest test coming up in your life. I said, what's that? You have to help Graterford transition to Phoenix. So I became the first, the only female major at SCI Graterford. And let me tell you about the transition. Wow. What hard work it was. We had tons of support from outside agencies, from our own agency. Annuitants came back, but it was rough. It was so rough. We were running 2 institutions pretty much. I had to keep up with everything that I needed to keep up with here, but then I had to go over to Phoenix and make decisions there. It was rough, and I questioned myself a million times. And then something happened. The corrections gods, sometimes they're not too nice, are they? And the unknown happened. There were 6, from end of 2017 and beginning of 2018, there were 6 inmate suicides. The unknown, right? You can't predict that, can you? Let me tell you something about death. Death hits you no matter if you're wearing gray, or if you're wearing white, or if you're wearing brown. Death hits you. It especially hits you when you sit as an executive on a team for an institution, because you're in charge. You're in charge of the people that are under your care. It hit the superintendent, and she moved on from being the superintendent at Graterford. And when that happened, I talked to her that night, and she said to me, I'm giving you one night. She goes, you got one night, Gina, one night. She goes, you can be mad, you can be angry, sad, you want to cry, cry. You got one night. She goes, you know what you do tomorrow? I said, no, what do I do tomorrow? She said, you put that uniform on, you go back in Graterford, and you lead your staff, and you lead the inmates, because you got a big task at hand. She said, what's your mission, Clark? I said, the mission is to do the transfer. I got to get it done. She said, your mission is a transition from SCI Graterford to SCI Phoenix. She goes, that's your mission. She goes, you got one night. And that's what I did. And a new administration came with new challenges, and we lost some people. There were other people that we lost. And in July of 2018, the day happened. It was called. We were moving. Thank God, right? We can do this. In less than 5 days, we moved over 2,000 inmates, 1,000+ staff, not one staff injury, not one use of force, not one. 5 days, maybe. I'll say 4.5. Not one. You know what else we accomplished? In less than 60 days, across the street, they're going to school. They're going to work. Staff's figuring everything out. They're going to medical. They're having rec. They're having yard in less than 60 days. That's an accomplishment. But probably the greatest gift that I got from all this, it was a new mentor. It was a new mom. And it hit me a couple weeks ago. And I'm glad this conversation was over the phone, because if it wasn't over the phone, I'm usually very stern-faced. People think I'm mad, but I'm really not. It's just my jail face. I've been here for 17 years. I probably would have had a tear come down. And we were talking back and forth, and it was a teaching moment. And we were trying to figure out ways that I could empower people, how I can delegate more work, because I have an issue with that. So we were going back and forth, and we were talking, and she said this to me. She said, "Baby girl, hear me when I tell you this." And I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "They will not break me. They will not break you. They will not break us. Do you hear me?" I said, "Yes, I do. I hear you." So let me tell you today, while I'm full circle, and what I want to share with you. To my sisters in corrections, I want you to know this. You are the cornerstone of this department. Hands down. You are. This department wouldn't be as great as it is. We wouldn't be the top in the nation if it wasn't for you. Take a look around the room. You could be whatever you want. You could be whatever you want. Without you, this department is not the best. And I want you to know that. So hear me when I say this to you and the other people from outside agencies. They will not break me. They will not break you. They will not break us, ever. Thank you, everybody, for the opportunity. Appreciate it.